Good evening, David and Daniela. Thank you both for joining us today on behalf of Solitaire International and the German Jewelry Export Promotion Council of India. It's a grey evening in Singapore, and which part of the planet are you joining us from?
Well, I'm in not far from Lake Geneva in the mountains.
And Daniela?
And I am in southern France, in Provence. So the seaside is down there.
Oh, beautiful. Great. So we're here.
Sunny day.
Those are always welcome. So we're here to talk about your latest venture. But before we go there, I want to take a moment to talk about the last 4 decades. So both of you have been at Sotheby's Auction House for more than 4 decades. And David, you were the worldwide chairman of the jewelry division, an illustrious career with many iconic moments. One of them, selling not 1, not 2, not 3, but I think 700 carat diamonds, earning you the nickname of 100 carat man, not a bad nickname to have. And you've presided over numerous record-breaking jewelry auctions from royal collections, like the Duchess of Windsor in 1987. And as an auctioneer, you achieved the highest price ever paid for a gemstone, which was the Pink Star 59.60 carat vivid pink diamond, which sold for 71.2 million in 2017. And I always find when I come across this type of a figure, I always find it fascinating because it's like the total of a mining company's entire production's auction result, and it's one stone. So Daniela, now over to you. You joined Sotheby's in 1980 and soon after opened the firm's jewelry department in Milan. And after a distinguished career of over 40 years at Sotheby's, you were appointed chairman of Jewelry for Europe. And you're considered one of the jewelry world's most experienced scholars, specializing in the history of jewelry. And most recently, you were responsible for the academic research for the record-breaking sale of royal jewels from the Bourbon Parma family, I hope I pronounced that correctly, which included treasures from the one and only Queen Mary Antoinette of the French Revolution and let them eat cake fame, for the lack of a better way of reminding everyone. So both of you, and when I was researching for this interview, I paused for a minute and took a step back and I was like, wow, it's like both of you have also collaborated on jewelry books that have become Bibles in the industry, Understanding Jewelry, 1989, Celebrating Jewelry, 2012. And there's a new one coming out, which I'm really excited to learn about, Understanding Jewelry, the 20th Century in November 2021. And so I had this sense of these two sort of forces of the jewelry world coming together to create this new venture, this new platform that we're here to talk about, which is Understanding Jewelry. And I'm going to start with you, David. So tell us a little bit about this platform. What was the motivation to create it? Is this connected in any way with an auction house or any gem and jewelry venture? Over to you.
Richa, thanks so much for inviting us on to talk about this venture. It's really very kind of you. So the answer to the question is no, this is not at all connected. Understanding Jewelry, the website and all our other things are totally our own invention. They were developed and produced by our own funds. We have no sponsors, and at present we have no advertisers, so it's totally independent. And we wanted to remain independent because one of the things that has become very clear to us is that the auction world that we joined for over 40 years ago, I mean, in London, to give you an idea, in the early 70s, we were having a sale every month just in London, let alone anywhere else. And I'm sure you most of the people watching have been aware of the highly mediatized sales that we had the great pleasure of taking and so forth. But what's happened now is that everything's moving online so rapidly that it's very difficult to catch up with it. And so what happens is that I think what we discovered is that people have more and more need for independent advice. I mean independent advice, not somebody who's working for one of the auction houses or somebody who's trying to sell them something, but somebody who just, like Daniela and I, are passionate about jewellery and excited about gemstones and also the history of jewellery. And so we hope that we're going to be filling that. And so the website, has over 1,000 images of jewellery from 1750 to 2000. That's the one section, a huge section, I think, of information, scholarly research, and so forth. And we're going to offer, I'm sure we'll talk about later, some courses and tours. So it's going to be very much a idiosyncratic and personal viewpoint about jewellery from Daniela and I. I think that's the thing to stress. We will give our opinions about jewels and about what people should do and what direction the market seems to be taking, whether, what direction we see it taking in the future. So we hoped that originally that Understanding Jewellery, the website, understandingjewellery.com, would be a one-stop place for people who want to know as much as they can in one place, find out about jewellery and all aspects of jewellery, really. And so that was the motivation. And it's now kicked off and it started. It's 2 weeks now we've been going. And it'll be very interesting to see where it takes us because, we are going to be listening all the time to our public and very much their desires is going to take it in different directions. So it'll be very exciting.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to switch to you, Daniela, because I want to talk a little bit about the different ways that people can learn through understandingjewellery.com. There's a subscription, there are courses, and like David said, there's immersive travel experiences. But let's talk a little bit about the courses and the subscription-based learning first, and maybe you could deconstruct this for us.
Okay. Well, the website is open to everybody without a subscription. We welcome everybody to register. They will then receive newsletters and all that. But there is a part of the website that is accessible to everybody, including 2 chapters from Understanding Jewellery. One chapter on gemstones, diamonds, and one chapter on the evolution of jewelry design, and we've chosen 1900 to 1920, the introduction to this very, very fertile period, because I'm sure it will appeal to everybody who's interested in the 19th century and those who are interested in more jewelry and sort of 20th century modern. So it's really sandwiched in between, and it's really a nice sort of liaison between the 2 centuries. Then, of course, there is a paying subscription, and you have an individual or a group. Obviously, if you have a group, you'll have a discount, and that will give you access to the whole of Understanding Jewellery, the book, on the website, that differently from the book that has been printed, will keep on evolving because we'll keep adding to it. So it will be a book in continuous growth. And of course, there will be more articles on subjects written by ourselves or by authors that will be sourcing out there. But everybody will have access to the courses, and we have at the moment 2 different ways of offering these courses. There will be online teaching, And we have devised a set of lectures on different subjects. These set of lectures consist of 3 or 4 sort of 45 minutes plus discussion. And what makes these courses different from what is available at the moment on the market is that the idea is not to record them and then offer them to whoever wants them whenever they want. It will be the two of us talking personally, as we are now, you and I and David, with a very limited number of sort of participants, so that all participants can have their saying, or better, will have the chance to ask specific questions. So they will be run on a regular basis, but they will not be recorded. And then, of course, we'll have our on-site courses, our perhaps more challenging experiences at the moment because of coronavirus. We don't know exactly when we will be able to start them. But we have planned at the moment one course in France, starting in Burgundy, ending in Paris. And that will really concentrate on the big Parisian maison. Then we have planned one in London, and that will be more royal jewels, jewels with a noble provenance. And the most exciting is the course we have planned in Jaipur, and that will offer, hopefully, an interesting view of not only this fabulous country, India, but also of how India and Indian jewelry inspired the production of Western jewels.
No, terribly exciting to hear, because I mean, you know, going to any place, as you know, I started out traveling and discovering the world of gem and jewelry, and I think going to any place completely gives you a very personal, intimate experience versus sitting alone and reading a book or doing a course. But I think the thing, before we sort of talk a little bit more about this trip that's coming up, the other thing which is interesting to learn about the courses is that it sounds like the group sizes are going to be small, and it's going to be very personal, where people will have an opportunity to interact with you. And from a previous conversation, I also recall you mentioning that if there's someone who requires like maybe a one-on-one course or a small group, you would be in a position to do that and curate a content suitable for a smaller group of people. Is that correct?
Yes, I mean
that's absolutely correct. That's welcome question in this field, because I've been doing that for many years under the Sotheby's umbrella of building sort of bespoke courses, starting from one person to groups of 10, 15. And it's very good. It's challenging, but so rewarding to put together a program that has been really sort of fine-tuned to a very specific audience.
So I want to, sorry, go ahead, David.
Oh, I was going to say that what we thought was, or what we heard was really important, was that people thought that, you know, they really wanted to sort of try and share somehow in what might be called our knowledge, use it in the most modest way possible. And so we're trying to make all these courses, tours, or even individual learning sessions very much a contact directly with us. You know, certainly in my life, the great experiences I've had, or the great learning experience, have been as a result of a particular teacher. You know, so I think the transmission of knowledge is very important from one person to another.
Right. So before we go back to the website, I wanted to grab both of you, and given the extensive career both of you have had. Do you have an interesting story to share with us about, something fun, something
Well, you asked us
fantastic?
whether there was ever a moment when there was a disaster averted.
Yes.
And
Thank God we haven't had that many of those, but
Good.
one remains memorable, and I'm sure that David can tell the story much better than I, because he personally and physically was very well involved into this event. To you, David.
In 2007,
Right.
we were consigned 2 yellow diamonds, which had been owned. I mean, one of them weighed 100 carats, the other one weighed 80 carats. They were remarkable.
There you go.
You can see them here.
Yeah.
Now, if we'd been living in Paris in the 19th century, or anywhere in Europe really in the 19th century, this lady on the right, who was known as La Paiva, would have been very, very well known. She was the most famous, what was I going to say? They used to be called the Grands Horizontales, the courtesan of the 19th century in Paris. There's not much known about her, except that she became extremely rich, married one of the most richest families in Europe. Daniela, just very briefly, I mean, she had a collection of jewellery that rivaled those of the Empress of France. And these two diamonds were part of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it was quite a thing. So we got it for sale. It was in May 2007. I decided the best thing to do would be to take them for Paris. Now, why Paris? Apart from the fact she was French, but she also owned and lived in one of the gentlemen's clubs, which is this magnificent Hôtel Particulier on the Champs-Élysées in the middle of Paris. And we got permission from the club to present the stones there to the press and so forth. And so we took them to Paris. All the press were invited. There was, I think, 3 or 4 television channels, including TF1 and so on, R2, filming, and colleagues, everything else in this rather grand room. And I began to present these stones, and I put them on, or somebody put them on, a black velvet pad, exactly like this, one above the other. So I stood in front of the cameras and everybody and said, now here, ladies and gentlemen, are the famous diamonds owned by La Paiva. And I began to talk about them. And as I talked, I looked down, and the top stone, this 100 carat, beautiful, intense yellow old diamond from about 1870, began to move. You know how when something goes wrong, it does so in incredible slow motion. And so it began to dislodge from this black pad. And I, of course, was holding the black pad in both hands. I couldn't sort of stop it. And it started to fall. And as it started to fall, everybody in the room went like this. And then there was a dead silence. And so everybody went, there was another like this. Everyone started looking, where the hell is the diamond? And I
my God, it actually fell, or it was just like...
It fell. But there was no bang as it hit the parquet floor in this room. So I looked down, and everyone was saying, well, what's happening? It's extraordinary. And it's being filmed by television. And I looked down. Can you believe it? This is the sort of thing that's almost incredible. So if it weren't being filmed, and if all my colleagues and everybody there weren't there, you would not believe it. But I promise the truth. I looked down, bent down, and produced this 100 carat diamond from the cuff of my trousers. Can you believe it? It had fallen into my trousers. So it was like a conjuring trick. I bent down and produced the diamond. Much to, yes, a round of applause from everybody in the room.
It almost looked staged, but it was not staged.
You couldn't do it. I could never have done it again. You know what I mean?
Well, you could have told people that it was staged and they would have believed it. But now we know the truth.
The truth. Yes.
Well, thank you. I don't want to stop sharing this photograph, but we have a lot more to talk about. So I'm going to stop for a second. So thank you for sharing that story. I did not even in my wildest dreams imagine that you would come up with that one when I requested it.